everyone, welcome to the channel. So we know that we need to learn how to talk before we learn how to read. But the question is, how do we learn how to talk? So there are 5 theories how we learn how to talk in the first place. The first one might feel kind of familiar. It's stimulus response theory. Like, for example, you see fire, you try to touch it, it burns you, and you realize, that hurt. That's stimulus response theory. You probably won't go touching fire again. Well, it's the same thing with this language development. A child will communicate in some way, whether it's crying or laughing or something like that. And depending on the response that the child, or any of us really, get from somebody else, that will reward us or punish us, maybe correct us or ignore us, whatever it is that we're doing, that kind of tells us that we're on the right track and we should try that again sometime, or that we're definitely not going to go there again. The next theory is called normative theory, and this is the genetic basis of language development. In this particular theory, a person moves from one stage to another in their development in a really predictable fashion. So a 2-year-old can do something, and a 3-year-old can do something, and a 4-year-old, because they're ready for it and they just naturally move along. This is the idea that there are stages of readiness, that you don't actually try to do something really advanced with a young child because they're not quite ready for that in their mind, because they don't really have the ability yet. So that's normative theory. The third theory is innate or predetermined. In this theory, we all have an ability to talk. It's innate within us. We're born with it, right? And the way that it's used is we master what we're exposed to as a baby. So when we're very, very young, the stuff that we're exposed to, that's the stuff that we grapple with, and that's because we have this innate ability with language. More current theory says that the human mind understands the implicit rules of language, and we automatically somehow want to transform sequences of sounds into sequences of ideas, which is really interesting. Our fourth theory is interaction theory. In this theory, we learn how to talk because we have these social and emotional drives that lead us to connect to each other. We need each other to survive. And so we are driven to communicate in some way, and that leads us to language. As we're striving to connect and create these social connections, these kind of emotional and physical bonds with other people, people around us who know more correct us and guide us a little bit, and that tells us that we're going in the right direction, and then we just keep going there. Vygotsky theorized that social exchanges actually create verbal thought, that we have this language inside of our own minds, and this is the beginning of oral language, which then naturally leads on to written communication. And in order to get this particular theory, children learn through social interaction, and they do this when they have somebody who is older or more experienced talking with them, and this kind of give and take of information, this is the learning moment. This is the interaction that's helping them build up their knowledge and context. They're getting context around what it means to talk. Zone of proximal development is something that you can only do with the help of somebody else, right? So that other person has to come down and help you do it. So this is the zone of proximal development. The child was being met where they were. They could only do it if they had a little bit of help. They got a little bit of help, and then they learned it. And so they kind of up with their knowledge a little bit. This is how children, and really much everybody, this is how we all construct meaning. Think about if you're going to be a teacher. Your role as a teacher, if you use Vygotsky's theory of learning, is to provide social interaction in an environment that allows the child to manipulate things, for example. You provide the support that that child needs. And the way that you get there, like, how do you know? What does the child need? How do you know what the child knows? You gotta watch the child. If you're a parent, you're constantly watching your child. You're trying to see, like, what do they know how to do now? Like, what's their new skill? It's so exciting. And you naturally wanna help them, especially if you think about them learning how to walk. For example, like you see them crawling, maybe they're rocking back and forth, maybe they're starting to hang on to the edge of something. They're extremely exciting, right? So you want to help them out. So you might support them with your hands so they can take their first step. That's called scaffolding. You're helping them out. You're giving them what they can do with a little bit of help. They can do it with a little support. They might be starting to eat on their own. They've got the they've got the spoon, they're waving it around, maybe it has some food on it, you might help them know, here's how you put it in your mouth. So this is scaffolding. This is what adults do with young children pretty much forever to help them learn. You can see because of this how a family can influence the development of a child's language over time by paying close attention to what the child is saying, how they're using their words and sounds, and helping them along. The fifth theory that we can talk about is called Constructivist Theory. And you can think of construction, right? You're building something. You build it up from your experiences. We make meaning in this way by building on the experiences around us. With ideas, we build kind of a mental model. And then if it's wrong later, then we reconstruct this mental model. In this particular model, this particular theory, teachers and parents and adults around a young child, they provide experiences, a wide range of experiences. And then they help the child make sense of those experiences by tying them all together. They take them through, like, what does it mean to see these three things, and what do they have in common? In this way, children begin to notice relationships over time and also to get into the habit of trying to see relationships over time. Practicing in this way starts to lead to autonomous learning, which is a fancy way of saying figuring out how to learn on your own, which is exactly what we do when we pick up a book and read information that we've never seen before. This is us taking in new information from experiences that we haven't had personally. So that's 5 different theories, and as you can see, no single theory is really complete, but you do perhaps see that they kind of tie together. Like, there's all these different ways that you can see that they kind of contribute to our understanding about how people learn how to talk. The big goal, and I hope what you see is the thread that ties all of these theories together, is that social interaction is key to learning language. It's both social and emotional. And what also seems to tie these things together, we're revising our internal knowledge based on new experiences. So it's these new experiences, lots of language, lots of encouragement, and that is what helps us all learn how to talk. If you'd like to hear more about how young children develop their language and what you might be able to do, especially some practical tips, check out my next video.